Musicals. I like them. I performed in my school's production of The Addams Family, and I was on stage crew for at least 2 years, and I can work most tools well. I also rock at constructing IKEA furniture. Broadway theater and just theater in general has been a huge part of my life for as long as I can remember. And that has evolved to me standing here in my pajamas in front of this board, presenting the history of diversity in theater productions. Let's do this! And to get started into this, I want to make a few disclaimers, trigger warnings, discussions of sexual assault, child abuse, racism, homophobia, xenophobia, death, trauma, and murder. Despite all the heavy topics that these musicals all cover, I'm going to do my best to describe them and keep things lighthearted.
I will never more deceive you or of happiness bereave you, but I'll die.
The very first show and musical was and still is to be considered The Black Crook, performed in New York City on what would be eventually considered future Broadway. Apparently no one knows who wrote it, whoever did was on crack, because a man makes a deal with the devil and attempts to kill Herzog and fails. Apparently he saves some goddess or something, and it's like a true love soulmate story. I don't know. You can't tell a story without starting it somewhere, so everyone blame or thank this one for Broadway now. Next is the very first film musical, and no, it wasn't Disney. Aw, we'll get to him eventually. The very first film musical was The Jazz Singer, made in 1927. Some say it was Showboat, but the musical version was made this year, and the film version was later released in the 50s. Speaking of which, small detour. In theater, when performances are performed on a stage and has a clear fourth wall, it's called a pro shot. Hamilton, that was released in 2020 on Disney+, is a pro shot. Nerdy Prudes Must Die, that was released fully on YouTube and is on the Star Kids YouTube channel, is a pro shot. Dear Evan Hansen is a movie. A shitty one, but a movie. Now back to The Jazz Singer. This movie is important. It's the first jump from musical to film, and all musical films that would eventually come later are to thank for this, like The Greatest Showman. Even though it's a silent film, but let's not worry about that. However, I failed to mention the blackface. Yeah. Despite the fact that this is a Jewish story, and in the 20s when Jewish people were especially discriminated against, they didn't extend the same grace to black people, because when Jackie goes to perform in his major performance back in New York, he puts on blackface and sings, I think it was replaced from a song with a title that has Mammy in it. That's all I'm gonna say. And there are no black extras in the movie. This movie is revolutionary, but it is still a product of its time, so I'm going to be moving on. Disney! Yay! Ignoring Disney's current reputation, it's important to note that this is the very first animated film musical. So, this gave way to basically all the good ones that would later come. So, Lion King, K-pop Demon Hunters. That's it. I'm going to get this out of the way. Yes, Snow White is a 14-year-old girl and is kissed by a 31-year-old man in the middle of the forest. Yes, she is depicted to keep house and clean all with a smile and a song in her voice, which is condescending, but that's not what I'm focusing about. Because I want to focus on this guy. Because he's neurodivergent, and that's cool. Many of you probably don't believe me, which is fair, but scientists have actually asked and answered this question if Dopey is neurodivergent. And turns out he most likely has something called Angelman syndrome, a condition characterized by developmental delay, absences of speech, motor impairment, happy demeanor, and seizures. So, Dopey seizures aren't prominent in the movie, but happy demeanor, absences of speech, motor impairment, all are. So this movie is 79 years old, yet its depiction of Angelman's was apparently spot on. So despite the apparent issues with the movie's women, that's a neurodivergent win. Next musical is Oklahoma. Small note, I watched the movie version from 1955, which cuts out some songs, but due to research, I think I got this. Anyway, the main contributions that Oklahoma has are two things. First one being Ado Annie. Ado Annie is the main character, Laurie's best friend. And she's set to marry this one cowboy guy who Benson Boone's off a fucking train. However, during Laurie's bath in the middle of a random lake, I don't know why she's there, she spots Annie with some guy. And they argue, and this leads into I Can't Say No, which is all about Annie's sexual urges, as she is expected to push off romantic advances because this is 1906 and no one knows that women can feel things. So, she doesn't want to, and she spent the entire musical choosing between two suitors, just like Laurie, because god damn it, this movie loves fucking love triangles. She spends this movie like realizing that, but also realizing maybe she shouldn't cheat on her fiancé. Shocker. However, questionable character choices aside, the idea of women's sexual agency was revolutionary, which musical duo Oscar Hammerstein and Richard Rodgers eventually became known for. And then there's the second one, the original cast recording. This musical was the first full musical with its original cast to be recorded. So every musical re-recorded in the modern day is thanks to this one. And this will be very important later, trust. Not only did it allow more people to listen to this musical, it gave more exposure in musicals and allowed musicals to be more accessible from now on. All that was left was to include representation. When will it happen? West Side Story needs no introduction. If you heard or know of musicals, you definitely know this one. Do you know West Side Story?
No.
The main thing to focus on here is this woman, who I love. Her name's Rita Moreno. And fun fact, she actually lives around here. Not only that, is her position as one of the main leads is the most important part. Actual Latinos and Puerto Ricanos were basically shafted and given extras and non-remarkable parts. She is the only Puerto Ricano and Latino in this movie to have a main lead and a speaking role. A lot of her talents would earn her the Oscar for this movie, and it would be the very first time a Latina woman won. Not only is this huge, her casting was huge, but they still kind of did her dirty because in the movie, a lot of the Puerto Ricans are forced to wear darker makeup. So she had done on a darker makeup skin than she's used to, but also this leads to all the white cast members, cast as Puerto Ricans, being put in brown face. You didn't think that would happen, would ya? And despite her being born in Puerto Rico, which is an American territory, some people forget that, she had to put on a thicker and very stronger accent, something that is actually imitated in the remake that was later made back in 2021. So all this to say, West Side Story truly did make a difference, but considering the fact that this is the most prominent representation of Puerto Ricanos, it's not great. But it tried. Some people have been ignoring for these past 10 minutes have been the dancers. As a crew member, I understand and appreciate the effort of all those that go behind the curtain. And not just that, but people behind the leads. Enter in A Chorus Line, a musical all about the actual dancers in a musical. Which one? I don't know. They never fucking tell me which musical they auditioned for. But let's not worry about that. A minimal show performed on a basically empty stage and with minimal props, with starting over 400 dancers, but eventually ending with only 8. It focuses not just on dance, but the stories that the dancers actually have and their decision to eventually become dancers. And this one's actually pretty good. It's not bad. It also is another New York set musical, but the way it handles representation is much more nuanced and much more realistic than, say, West Side Story. Each person is from a different place, not just New York, but from Colorado, Nevada, Washington, D.C., Wyoming. Wyoming isn't real. And they're not only that, they're all different races. They're white, they're black, they're Asian, they're different sexualities, gay, straight, bisexual. There could be a fucking drag queen in there for all I know. It was basically the Hamilton before this Hamilton. Trust me, I will get to Hamilton, but this is all we got for now because it's the 80s. It has incredible choreography and music that all helped revive Broadway at a time where genuinely people thought that Broadway was dying. So, thank this one too, I guess. We're not gonna pay last year's rent. 2 disclaimers. We're in a different room today, as you can tell. It's a different day, but also, it is hot as hell, so if you hear fan noises, I'm not sorry. Rent is a very good and well-known musical, for good reasons. Its themes about death and loss are phenomenal, and I think this musical handles death pretty well considering everything. This one also isn't without its criticism about homophobia and stereotyping. I'm talking, of course, about Maureen, aka Idina Menzel lesbian, or bisexual. My personal opinion is this: I actually don't really like Maureen. As a fellow lesbian, watching Joanne keep going back to her over and over again is kind of dumb. I'm like, girl, get up! Get up! I like everyone else, however. Angel and Tom are absolutely adorable, and I love, love, love their song. I actually really do like Mimi and Roger, but I don't really get their disease or addiction. I'm not personally experienced that. But I get that those circumstances would make it incredibly hard to have a relationship, considering everything. However, regardless of that, Rent is strong. It's powerful, it's fun, it's also pretty raunchy. The characters are implied to be as young as like 19, Mimi, and as old as like late 20s, probably Mark, the white guy. And so a lot of them just like swear and shit. I know me personally, having watched all of these musicals and not hearing a single one of them say fuck was kind of stupid. Especially considering the fact that these are all adults. Do you say fuck a lot?
Fuck yes!
You know, it's very real. It tries to be a very real musical. Rent has its limitations, and despite losing its creator, it's revered for a pretty good reason. Just like the next one.
What's your name, man? Alexander Hamilton.
How does a bastard, orphan, son of a Hamilton is incredible. Not just because a young Kathy Reyes first cried when listening to Burn for the first time. And it was and still is a cultural phenomenon because the popular songs propelled it to fame were made by this man, Lin-Manuel Miranda. Currently, all the musicals I talked about were made by white men. Every single one of them. This guy is one of the first Latino playwrights and composers. Now don't get me wrong, there have been composers who are non-white and non-male before. Like the women who wrote Waitress. Love Waitress. But this one is one of the more popular ones for a variety of reasons, which the class may or may not mention. Number 1, diverse casting. As a chorus line before, all the actors are ethnically diverse. At the time, I remember many people thought this was very clever since, as we all know, the first black president wasn't Thomas Jefferson. And number 2, it developed a fandom afterwards. 3 words. Hatsune Miku. It succeeded because the internet had fully been used to spread the word. Tumblr and all its social justice warriors fucking love this thing. The internet introduced me to Hamilton. That's how I found this thing. It wasn't through Tumblr though. Don't get it twisted. It could have possibly not gotten this big had it not been for the internet. And number 3, Lin-Manuel Miranda just writes good, bro. Moana, Mufasa, Warriors! Its songs are great, and no wonder that the 10-year anniversary passing by, it is continually taking the internet by storm. Like this.
Alexander, come back to sleep.
I have an early meeting out of town.
It's still dark outside.
I know. I just need to write something down.
Stop wasting time on tears. I live another 50 years. It's not enough.
This would prove to be very important too, but first, we still need to address more representation. I need to get this out of the way first. Spring Awakening is a horny as hell musical. It was apparently banned in Germany when it first released, because it was Germany. It mentions abortion, death, sex, and suicide. It's a lot. I'm not going to focus on the musical specifically though, at least not the original Broadway performance back in 2006 or so, because I have to mention a revival. Another small detour. When a musical closes its run and eventually either it gets back into popularity again or people want to just perform it again, a revival run of the show can happen, meaning that the same show will be on Broadway once again. This is also true for other places like California, as I'm going to discuss. Back to Spring Awakening. Or more accurately, the 2015 Spring Awakening revival that happened in California at the Deaf West Theater. Yes, some of the performers are deaf. And there's actually a wheelchair performer. Now, if you're like me and you didn't actually know about this performance beforehand, you would have seen Ali Stroker in 2 places. 1, winning a Tony Award as the first wheelchair person to ever win a Tony Award. Or 2, The Glee Project. His performance and casting would be historical, not just because of the choreography, it actually includes sign language, but with Stroker's wheelchair moves, the characters themselves being cast and played as deaf, with voices assigned to stay in the background in order for the deaf performers to be the focus, and subtitles being on chalkboards and present above the stage so that deaf and hearing people could follow along with the story. This gives deaf and hearing performers the chance to shine all together. No one performer is put above the other. Never before had a performance been so catered to people with disabilities as well. Also, they all sing and act great. One thing about theater is that everyone always expects disabled people to not be able to do theater because you need to be able to sing, act, and dance, and as someone who can't act for shit, they did great.
But when does a comet become a meteor? When does it...
Finally, we have come to the end. The culmination of all of these musicals. Pretty epic, if you ask me. It's Epic the Musical. We're talking about Epic the Musical. Epic is unique in the sense that I can't really focus on a specific performance or staging of the musical because it doesn't exist. Epic the Musical is a fully written, produced, and recorded musical all about Odysseus' journey back from Troy, all online. It has original cast recording from artists all over the world. It casts Greeks as all different races, as the creator himself, Jorge Rivera Hernández, is Puerto Rican. Jorge used TikTok in order to jumpstart all of his ideas and used fan creators and artists to help make his musical dream possible, culminating in the greatest finale ever. I am not kidding. This musical is truly a modern one. It has a typical hero's journey. He's tested and undergoes through reasonable change after loss, and it deals with him eventually coming to terms with, if needing to get home, he will, at the cost of others as well. Like I said, it casts artists from all over the world, like Canadian singer Miko, Kenyan singer Barba, I'm gonna pronounce this wrong, Wangui, and Survivor contestant Janai K. Ja. I'm not kidding, Aphrodite was in Survivor. And many, many more. And it eventually culminated in the ending of the musical being filmed and live streamed from Ithaca, Greece. Epic the Musical is epic, as much as it's much more than just a good musical. It's what musicals have come to and eventually what they can be. There's already so much more to come in terms of Epic too, because Jorge has mentioned writing eventually a retelling of the Iliad too. I think the first song is out. This journey of musicals has been so much more than just, song's good, let's keep singing them, yay, for so many years. It's history that helps shape our culture and keep us entertained for decades upon decades. Musicals help bring people together, and it's so much more than just the show. As I've talked about here, it's the cast, the people who, not just the leads, but the people behind them who help make everything possible. It's the crew who help put together the sets that people perform on. Without it, there wouldn't be a musical to perform. Sometimes. A chorus line and Epic obviously changed that. But that's changed in a good way. Now more than ever, people of all types can enjoy and perform in musicals. It's just a matter of fact when the next one will come out. And like I said, it could be with something brand new, like with Oklahoma, or it could be something that happened before, but it's just a revamp, like Spring Awakening. Musicals can be anything. There is a musical, most likely, about the randomest shit ever that probably exists. From Epic especially, we have the chance to see where musicals will go from here. I don't know where, but it seems like it might go pretty well. That's my video, everyone. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel.